We are back in our three-part series where you are hearing from product-based business owners, handmade business owners, and artists. Today we have an artist on the show. And how they expanded their business and added another revenue stream to their business to diversify their revenue to have more money coming in based on the experience and knowledge and expertise that they gained from running their product-based business. Today we have a really special guest. Her name is Sue, and you're going to hear how she started as an artist who would do custom animal totem portraits. So portraits of people where she would see and draw your animal spirit guides. And as she was doing these custom portraits that would take 30 minutes or so, she would really get to know the person and share what she was seeing and what that meant and connect with them. And she realized that she had this natural talent and had all these healing modalities that she had learned, and that there was an appetite from her customers for more. So she started to host retreats. And now she was drawing the custom animal portraits, the watercolor portraits of these people. She would then have the perfect opportunity to have them come to her retreat and pay to be at her retreat because she created such a bond with them during that point in time. And that's not all. And then she wanted to make business even easier on her and started a coaching program and a course around all of the different healing modalities that she had learned to help people really tap into their intuition and remember who they really are. So this is such a beautiful interview with Sue, and she shares how she has just continued on this journey, and she still does the custom animal totem portraits today, but has diversified and added so many other additional ways to make money in her business, and even more importantly, additional ways to impact and serve others. I'm so excited for you to listen to this episode. And as a reminder, I'm doing this three-part series because Sue from this episode and Lindsay and Kristen from the last two episodes, a polymer clay jewelry maker who now teaches others how to make polymer clay earrings, and a printables business owner who now teaches others how to run successful printables businesses on Etsy. All three of these individuals that I've interviewed have the same business coach as I do. And that's how I got to know them, and that's why I brought them on the show. And our business coach, James Wedmore, is hosting a free training on how to create a thriving digital business, how to start and scale a digital business. So if you are someone who has an idea, a thought, a passion, a purpose, a service on your heart that you want to share with more people, that is educational, that could be a membership, a course, a coaching program, a container, something in you. And the fact that you're listening to this means that there is something there. I encourage you to simply sign up for his free training to see what it takes, what impact you can make, and what's required to build a successful digital business. So I want you to go to monicalittlecoaching.com/rise, RISE. On that link, there will be a button that will go directly to his page where you enroll for the training, and you can learn more about James. You can learn more about the three people who I've interviewed on this podcast series and really understand what you will get from the training that he only offers once per year. So if you're listening to this right now, you have to register and attend his training to learn how to grow and scale a digital business. I can't wait to see you there. And let's bring Sue on for this episode. Well, welcome, Sue, to the podcast. I'm so excited to have you here today.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited too.
This is going to be awesome. I know we've got a chance to get to know each other from being at a mastermind retreat together last month. And I got to hear your story of how you were selling at wellness expos with custom art portraits, and that transition to actually helping people more on like a spiritual and energetic path, and really coaching and guiding people. And I thought this would be such an awesome interview to have you on the podcast to show people what else is possible. Like, yes, there's the art side, and there's also so much else that's possible with that too. So I'm excited to have you here to talk about that.
Well, thank you. Yeah. I was doing expos, and wellness expos and art shows and things like that for, let's see, I think I started doing those in almost 2000.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 2000. And when I would do the portrait, it was so much fun doing the people's portrait because they sit down with you and eat for about 20 to 30 minutes, I'm doing their portrait in watercolors and painting their totem animals. And when I'm doing that, I get to see the person. I get to know the person and explain to the person what I see around them. And because of their totems, they're like, well, wait a minute. How'd you know that about me? I don't understand. And it's because of the animals that I was seeing around them that lends themselves to their personality. And in that process, it's really exciting because they're like, the person feels seen, they feel heard, they feel validated, and then they go, well, what else do you do? I'm like, well, here, let me give you my brochure. I'm doing a retreat this next month. Why don't you come? And I was doing a class retreat that was either 1 weekend a month for 7 months or 2 week format. And that 2 week format was probably one of my favorites. And people would come, stay with me for 2 weeks, and have a massive transformation when they leave.
Yeah.
And it was all about learning how to hold a healing modality from the Mayans,
Hmm.
in this process. So,
That's beautiful. And I want to take us back to how you started with your artwork, the very beginning, because you mentioned you're doing watercolor and it's animal totems.
yeah.
So let people know who maybe aren't familiar with that, what an animal totem is, how this custom artwork looks like, and also tell us how you got started with that, where like your expertise came from.
Oh, well, that's a long story. Well, first of all, a totem is like a spirit guide. And so it's a spirit animal that hangs around people. And everybody has about 128 energy points to the bodies. So there's pretty much 128 totems that are working with you, one for each energy point. And it's, but there, when I paint, I'm only painting the seven, about seven of them. And there's other ones hidden within animals. And those are the main ones that you're working with in the moment. And what you're dealing with, what issues that you're facing, and different things along those lines. So, and I've been seeing totems ever since I was a young child. And, I would go to out with my mom, like to the grocery store. And there was one day I will never forget. My mother was in the produce, and I'm like, Mom, look, this woman, she's got a tiger. And she was this big, huge, beautiful black woman that had this tiger right next to her. And I was like, Mom, look. And she's like, oh, look again, Sue. So in that moment in time, I realized not everybody saw things like I was seeing. But thank God that my mom didn't didn't squash it. She actually eventually just kind of gave up on me and took me to work with some native elders to to really learn what totems and what I was seeing and what they meant and how to work with them. And so I think I was about 14, 15, around there. And later in life, when I was going to college, I was studying psychology and art. And we had to have a fine art show to graduate from this one college. And my professor, her name was Jackie. And I loved Jackie very much. She was a great mentor. And Jackie insisted that I have this show, because I was transferring colleges, and she was like, "But what about your fine art show? You have to have it." And I'm like, "Well, I'm going to transfer college." But you have to have it. You must promise me this. And I was like, sure, okay, I will have a fine art show. And years and years and years later, Jackie was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, ovarian cancer, and she really didn't have long to live. And I was always taught you don't live life with regrets. You know, do your best not to have regrets. And so as soon as I heard this, I was like, I have to have a show. Now, you would think every art show needs a theme. And so, I was like, okay, what's my theme? And I decided that I was going to do these portraits of people that really mattered to me, that influenced me in my life. And so when I thought about that, I was like, well, it can't be just an ordinary portrait. Why don't I paint what I see around them? So that's when I started painting the totems around people and put it up on a show. And I was thinking that this was going to be a one-time thing. I didn't realize that it was going to become a lifelong passion and journey that was taking me.
Mm-hmm.
And it did. It took me on a journey. Once that show went up, it was, I had a bookstore in Rochester, New York, contact me and asked me to come and do portraits. But little did I know that when they did that, they were also inviting a bunch of different shamanic people to come in and sit and have their portrait done, just to say, yeah, she was right or she was wrong. Luckily for me, I was right.
Wow, that's incredible. So how many shows, have it be art expos or wellness events, did you end up doing? Because it sounded like you had this gift from a young age. And then it transformed into, let me help show people these animals, spirit guides around them through these custom portraits. And you had your first
Well,
art expo that sounded like it just took off from there. So what did your business, your specifically on the art side, look like after that? What were you focusing on?
well, what happened was after that first art show, and then getting asked to go to the bookstore to do private portraits, I started looking around at different wellness expos and different formats along those lines to take the artwork, to sit down and do people's portraits. And it turned out did you know there's almost a show every weekend,
Oh yeah.
every month,
Of every year.
somewhere?
Yep.
And so I think that's exactly what started happening is like I started searching out all the expos that I could possibly go to, and I would do little ones, and then I'm like going, oh wow, there's this body mind spirit thing. This is really huge. This is a big one. Oh my goodness. We'll try doing them. And oh wow, hey, they're not just in the United States. They're all over the world. I can travel. I can do all this stuff. So yeah, I did them in Germany. I did them in Australia and Malaysia and Austria and
Wow.
Switzerland, everywhere. Oh my goodness, I can do it anywhere.
Amazing.
Take a watercolor tablet and paintbrush and stuff, and you can do anything.
Hmm.
And that, but and I expanded out. I was doing, like this bear behind me. I would sell prints of different art too, you know, and that, and then we made magnets and all this other stuff. And but that's crazy
Yeah.
because then you have to carry it all to
Oh
every
yeah.
show and set up and
Hmm.
oh my goodness.
That adds a
I'm
lot of work, doesn't it? So much work. Okay, so talk me
Yeah.
through at what point did you realize and start to then offer additional items to people that you were painting their animal totems? Because at the beginning you mentioned, oh, when you're doing this custom animal totem portrait, watercolor of the individual and some of the main animals you see around them, this beautiful piece, you're really getting to know them. And then they're saying, wow, oh my gosh, you know so much about me. How do I keep working with you? So what was that initial light bulb moment that you're like, I can offer more? I can offer this beautiful custom animal totem portrait and more. What was that moment like?
Oh, that was really that was like a light bulb moment, yes, because when during the process of doing these shows, I was also being trained on how to do healing work and different healing styles, and so when I started to do the retreats and do teach what I was learning, I was like, well, how do I get people to come to this? How do I get people to know me? Because the retreat it's $6,401. Okay, so how a person picks up and reads about this this retreat and learn about it, they're like, wow, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. So here it is. I have this person sitting with me for 30 minutes. They get to know me and they get to trust me. They feel me. They feel my energy as much as I feel theirs. And because of that, they were able to say, okay, yeah, I want to sign up. And it's like, great, you know, I'll see you next month, and the next person sits down. So that light bulb moment was really when I realized that I have a way of being able to sit there and talk to someone for 30 minutes. And what's interesting is, yes, I'm doing their portrait. I'm getting to know them and talk to them. But there's people that are going to be standing right behind me, watching me do that portrait, watching my interaction and watching me work with them. And they want whatever that energy is, they want that too. And so they'll pick up the brochure on the class, they'll pick up a brochure on the portrait, and then and I hear from them as well because of that excitement.
Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned you learned some other modalities that you were then teaching at your retreats and that you work with people on currently. Can you give us some examples of what some of those modalities are?
Well, the modality actually is called Divine Intervention Spontaneous Remission. That's the long name, or DI for short, Divine Intervention. And it comes from the Mayans, and there are a lot of different little classes within that itself. And that's pretty much what I teach along those lines. And, you know, we've been setting up other classes and stuff like that, my partner and I. In fact, we have a class coming up called Reclaim Your Power. And and that is a free 3-day class that's online right now. And then we're doing another class called the Ring of Power.
Mhm.
So we're really excited about that.
Yeah, and I want to dive into this a little bit more because you started with the art expos and wellness expos, then you had retreats, and now you're actually doing more, like you mentioned, these classes. I don't know if you call it coaching or teaching or spiritual, energetic work, but essentially people work with you, and now it's more virtually. Is that right?
Yeah, pretty much everything we're doing right now is virtual, and we will have one retreat a year in person, or every other year, something like that is what we're looking at. But everything right now is pretty much virtual, online. Even the portraits, I'm still doing portraits for people where they either send me a photograph or we set something up on Zoom and do it. And that's the the direction that we're going is online.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it makes life so much easier. I don't have to travel so much. I don't have to lug so much. I don't have to pack my car all the time.
Mm-hmm. So is it safe to say you don't do any art expos or wellness expos anymore? Is that correct?
It's pretty safe. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so let's dive into a little bit more on some of the actual like courses and teachings that you do offer now. Because one part of this episode that I love, especially during the series, is sharing with other artists or product-based business owners how, like, what other options are out there. And you're a perfect example of you turned that into hosting retreats, and now you're doing these digital classes and digital products. So if someone signs up to work with you currently today, and it's not a retreat, it's more online, did one of your digital products, what is that experience like? What are you teaching them? What's one of your programs? I know you have a couple, but which one do you want to highlight and tell us about, and just tell us what you do inside that?
Oh, wow. Um, well, currently, I would have to say one of what I would like to highlight, I would think it would be the the Ring of Power. It's a 90-day container where we're working with people to help them really step into their own power of who they are, and release a lot of those core beliefs that don't serve them anymore. And so it's every every Saturday or every Sunday, I believe, for 90 days. And it's amazing. We've just ran one not too long ago. We just finished it up, and it was unbelievable. The transformations that we watched in people learning and stepping up and speaking up, and really developing where they want to go and what they want to do. And it's amazing to me watching people really find themselves and truly begin to trust their own intuition, and know that it's all within them. It's a remembering of who they are. Yeah.
Beautiful. What was that transition like, or what was that light bulb moment for you to go from retreats to this digital program? Because that's another switch, right?
Another switch. And um, what was that like?
Or what led to that? Was it just, I want to impact more people, this can be done on a larger scale? Or what thought process led to let's do this through a digital program?
Well, I think the digital program really came about because of COVID. You know,
Okay. Yep.
um, during the time of COVID, people really had to scramble and try to change how they were doing things so much. And at that point in time, what happened for me was I created an evergreen class called the Totem Language Wheel, which we rebranded, named it Manifest with Totems, where people can go online and go through at their own pace, learning about totems and how they can create a system with it so they can learn to manifest. So that we did that, and that was what started teaching stuff online. And we had set up a retreat called Hanafuda, and that's a magical class in itself. And like I said, it was during COVID, and when it hit, it was like, how do we keep this? How do we maintain this? And I was, well, I guess we're going to do it live online. And we just had people, some in person and some online, because of the, you know, travel restrictions. And then it's like, what else can we do online? Where can we go from there? I mean, my goodness, the world is not that big anymore. We can do everything, and reach out and get people from everywhere. It's pretty amazing to me when we're teaching a class or we're having a coaching container type of situation, and we have people from Australia to Germany to the States to Canada, Mexico, all in class at the same time. To me, it's just absolutely amazing. And how our tools have grown with us, like Zoom now, you can have it where people are speaking their own language and it's coming through the translation and you can read it in the captions. So even the language isn't that much of a barrier anymore.
Yeah. It's so interesting to see too how you were traveling with your custom animal totem portraits around the world. And now
Yeah.
you're still impacting people around the world. It doesn't require travel, but you're probably impacting more people because it's easier to scale a digital product, right? Because, like you said, you don't need to pack anything, you don't need to get on a plane, you don't need to do all the things. It's you hosting this coaching container, this Zoom call, and people from all over are attending. I think that's just beautiful.
Yeah, it's just amazing to me how creating it, going from the, what do you call it? The actual carrying things to a digital way of delivering yourself. It's just incredible because you don't have so much weight, so much, stuff to carry, and yet you can actually reach more, do more. And and I lost my train of thought. Sorry
I
about
think
that.
it was a perfect end to that sentence. One thing I want to
Mm,
ask you is
sure.
tell me more about like your mission and passion and purpose. Because you mentioned with Ring of Power, it's a remembering. It's like remembering who you are and how powerful you are and the intuition that we have. So tell me, as you have this digital coaching container and digital product, what's your like mission and passion and purpose behind it?
Well, excuse me. Well, one of the things that I have noticed in my partner, Jamie, we've noticed we've taught a lot of healers and we've worked with a lot of healers and getting people out there with their gifts, such as like me with my seeing totems and knowing how that energy actually impacts the body of someone. So when we're teaching people how to do the different healing modalities and work with that with their DNA, and then what we're seeing is them not getting out there. Teachers not we're teaching teachers and they're not getting out there and teaching, or healers and they're not getting out there and really working in their practice. So what we decided we really want to do is help healers and teachers to really embody their power and get out there and do what they're supposed to do. We're here to serve. Let's get out there and do this. We need people in this world right now that hold a lot of light because there is a lot of stuff going on that just we need a lot of light out there. So, you know, what we're trying to do is, let me rephrase that. We're not trying. What we're doing is getting people to see themselves and really step into that role that they want and to get after it and do it.
That's beautiful. Now, if you were to estimate how many people have you worked with on the digital product side?
How many people?
Yeah, how many people have you impacted with your work?
Thousands.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And it's really hard to put a number to it, but I would say thousands.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I think that just shows opportunity and someone like you, and I think the people who listen who have a really big heart and want to impact people and help people. It's like how do we take that and help as many people as possible? Because that's really what it's about, right? Like serving others, exactly like what you said.
And one of the things too is not to let age dictate also, because I was just talking to a 70-year-old lady yesterday, and she's like, "Oh, I don't know how to work my phone, let alone a computer." It's like, well, you can learn and you can get out there and do it. You can do this stuff yourself. You know, I'm 63 and I'm thinking to myself, wow, you know, I have really changed and shifted with the times going with it. There's nothing that can stop us.
And how did you create that resiliency? Because I know there's people who have imposter syndrome. And I think about you, how your story, you went from the wellness expos to offering retreats. And there can be a lot of imposter syndrome of like, who am I going to fill this out? Who am I to host this retreat? And then switching to digital products, there can be a lot of imposter syndrome there. So as you pivoted and added more tools to your business toolkit and as you impacted more people, did you ever struggle with that? And how did you overcome it if yes?
I think at one point in time, I think everybody will have a little bit of imposter syndrome. You know, who am I to coach someone? Who am I to say, this or that? And then there's this point that you have to come into center. You have to come into center of yourself and really, do you know yourself? Do you know who you are? Do you know where you want to go? And do you know what you truly believe? If you know these things, these are the things that you go out there with. And this is what you're giving. This is what you're doing. This is what you're showing. And for healers, one of the things for healers that go out, when they go out and do things, they get challenged. They'll get challenged very much because, well, how do you know? Where did you learn? Where did you go to school? You don't have a doctorate, yeah. And those are the things that are challenged. But if you believe so strongly in what you do and who you are, you won't waver. It's really allowing yourself to have the courage that's already within you to come out. Yeah, that's really it. And yes, there is at times I think I struggled more with imposter syndrome when I worked as an art director than I did as a healer. You know, because when I started as an art director, it was just when computers were coming out. I was in art school when the first computers were coming out. They weren't even in color. You had this little Mac thing or Apple, whatever it was, and it was for type more so than anything. And I would go in and I'd work. See, I can't even talk about it. My throat closes up on it. I'd go into the class and I'd stare at the screen for 5 minutes and I'd have a horrible headache. And I'm like, no. So I would, when I got out of art school and got into working in the advertising, it was like, oh my goodness, I have to learn this computer stuff. I have to really learn this stuff, how to design on a computer. Oh my God, I'm an old fashioned. I like to do it by hand, sketch it out, work at it, and then put it into the computer. All right. I'm still that way a little bit. But that's my imposter syndrome, was doing that more so than being a healer. The healer is myself, who I am. And I think when any person truly embraces who they are, really embrace who you are, then imposter is not an issue.
Mm-hmm. So, how did you specifically in the art director and advertising space overcome it at that point in time? Because I think that's super relevant to anyone now learning a new skill. I mean, especially this conversation, there's a lot of product-based handmade business owners, artists, etc., who now might be like, "Ooh, I have a special source of, I have special knowledge or expertise or something that I've learned that I want to share with other people too. However, oh my gosh, that's a whole other world, whole other skill set, whole other like side of the business. So I think it's relatable to what you
Yeah,
felt back then. So what helped you at that
sure.
moment in time?
Well, I think what really helped me is the more I learned, the more I studied, the more I started learning how to use Adobe and all the programs at the time. The more familiar you become with it, the more authentic you become, right? You
Mhm.
know, it's like the more you learn something and the more you practice it, the more it becomes part of who you are. So, yeah, okay, if you're a skincare person and you're knowing how to make all that stuff and you're going and you're selling it and you're taking it online, you have to learn how to do the business aspect of it and talk about it and teach people how to make it maybe or whatever.
Yeah.
And the more you do it, in you get to, wow, I've learned how to do this. Now I'm learning how to do this. And now I can talk about how I did all of it. And isn't that you? Yeah,
Yeah. I
that's
love it.
me. Yeah. And I
Perfect.
think that's the beauty of what we have in life. We can make it into just about anything we want. And we can
Mhm.
make it as big as we want to go.
Yeah.
If you can dream it, you can do it.
Yes. 100%. And I think in addition to that, of, if you can dream it, you can do it. I want to talk about your animal totem cards. Because we've talked about the amazing journey of your business and the
Oh,
different direction it has gone. And now you have an animal card deck, which I have one and I absolutely love it, which has your own watercolor paintings of the different animals, right? And then you
yeah,
have your own depiction from your own learnings of what the different animals mean. So tell us about that.
sure. Well, that in itself is a 30-year journey,
Wow.
and that because the reality was is one of my heroes, and mentors in a way. I've worked with him on numerous occasions. Was Ted Andrews, and he wrote the book Animal Speaks long time ago.
Yeah, I have that book. No way. So, oh my
Yeah,
gosh. So do you know him?
yes, I did. He's
Okay.
passed away since then,
Oh,
a
wow.
while back. Yeah. Ted Andrews, I got to work with him a few times. And, you know, and I was like, I want to write my own book. And so it was always intimidating to do that because I'm dyslexic. And so, and I lived with that story for 30 years. I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't do this. I tried writing. I would try writing it out, and I'd get frustrated. But then I would try drawing the painting. I would do a painting. In fact, the painting behind me, the bear was supposed to be in the first deck that I was going to design. I was going to do it that style, and I would get the paintings done, but I couldn't get the writing done. I couldn't get the writing done. And then being at a retreat, getting challenged myself, am I willing to put the story down? I was thinking, that is over. That is such an old story. I'm ready for it to be buried. And so that was in August of last year. And the next retreat was in December. And I told myself I wanted to bring the book to show these people what I did. So this is where being an art director and having working with products really helped out because as soon as I got home, I knew that I wanted 44 cards. I knew that the book had to have at least 110 pages. So I called the printers, got a quote, started backwards, working backwards, going, okay, if I need this in my hands by this date, when do you need all the artwork, all the written material, everything? So when I got my date, I was like, oh, I only have a month and a half to get it done. And so that's exactly what I did. And for a month and a half, exactly, I figured out how many paintings, how much needed to be written, everything along those lines. And during the process, I held the energy in each painting, each card of the Hono Nono Pono prayer chant. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
And so every painting, I would say, had that prayer chanted at least 50 times. The energy of the divine intervention with the dimension and frequencies and the healing that I do was held during the whole process as well. So the energy of the cards themselves, to me, is spectacular, besides the written information on them. And getting that done was such an accomplishment for me because it was something that has always been inside me wanting to come out. Now, I do apologize to all those people that have bought it and are buying the ones that I have left until the second print, that the printing on the book is so small.
I think it's perfect. I have the book and I think it's perfectly fine. It's
Oh, okay. I thought
good.
that I'm looking at the print going, my goodness, it's so tiny.
I think it's so good. And I mean, like you said, the energy of those cards and the beautiful paintings of these different animals. And if for someone who hasn't used a card deck before like this, explain to them how they use it and how to like bring a practice around with it.
Oh, you can use it as it's an oracle deck, so you can pull out one card a day to ask what is your day going to be like? What do you need to look at, and just use a one card spread. Or you can pull out three cards with a question for yourself, and the first card being the past, second card being the present, and then the third card being the future. And you just take a look at what each card means, and take a look at the artwork itself. Not just read the book, but look at it and depict what's going on in the picture as well for yourself, you
Mm.
know,
Mhm.
and it will guide you along the ways. There's different spreads in there for relationships and, you know, all types of things.
Yeah, that's
So,
awesome. I love it. It's one of my favorite decks that I have. It's beautiful.
well,
So
thank
you've
you.
done an amazing job with that, Sue.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the decks and the totems and coaching with people is just one of the things that I really truly love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful story of following what you love and impacting as many people as possible, which is exactly what you're doing. So it's beautiful.
I think that's what you're doing.
Yeah. And I think that's why we get along and why we're in like the same circle of other coaches and people who just want to
Hmm.
impact others. You know, that's what it really
Yeah.
comes down to is how do you just spread a message and help as many people as possible?
And the one of the things that really hit me hard and was when somebody pointed out what we're really here for. And it doesn't matter what business you're in. What you're really here for is to be of service. And once you learn that, really embrace that, I'm here to be of service, then you can start out and do anything, I think.
Mm-hmm. 100% agree. Well, thank you, Sue. It's been so great having you. Can you share with everyone where they can find out more about your Oracle deck, your amazing programs you offer, if they want a custom animal totem portrait, all the things?
Sure. Absolutely. You can go to spiritanimal.guide, and there's a lot of information there. You can find me on Facebook, Sioux Storm, and you can actually even go to stormshineacademy.com.
Beautiful.
And if anybody's interested, you can contact me for a freebie. We'll send you a guided meditation to help you find your own power totem.
Ooh. And how can they reach out to you? Via Facebook or Instagram, or how do you want them to get?
They can reach out Facebook,
Cool.
or they can email me at sue@stormshine.com.
Beautiful.
Just make sure you spell Sue correctly.
Which is how? Tell us verbally.
SIOUX.
There we go. I love it. I'll make sure to link all that in the show notes so people can find you, contact you, get a hold of you, and see all the awesome, amazing work that you're doing. So thank you again, Sue, for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
If you enjoyed this episode and if you have an idea of something that you've been thinking about, that you've been holding inside, this what if I could do a coaching program? What if I could do a course? What if I could teach others something? Then I want to remind you to go to monicalittlecoaching.com/rise, RISE, to register for the free training on how to create a successful digital business with my own coach, who is also Sue's coach that you heard from today, James Wedmore, and he is going to share with you the 5 ingredients needed to create a successful digital business so that you can diversify and have another revenue stream in your business, so you can impact and serve more people, and so you can have more security in your business by having multiple different sources of revenue coming in from the skills and knowledge that you have. That link again is monicalittlecoaching.com/rise, RISE.